On my kicker tonight, I go 3D to talk about dynasties, democracy, and decency. Earlier today, the 3Ds featured prominently in the President Uhuru Kenyatta's speech during the 41st commemoration of the death of the country's founding president, Jomo Kenyatta. When he talked of dynasties, President Kenyatta was without doubt aiming a direct hit at his deputy, William Ruto, whose more than early 2022 presidential campaigns has already been styled as a race against the dynasties. Dynasties is the code word for the country's big political families that include the Kenyattas, the Odingas, and the Mois, among others. The deputy president campaigns have loudly proclaimed that the 2022 election will be a race between the so-called hustlers, led by the deputy president, and dynasties, an obvious reference to the emerging Kenyatta-Odinga-Moi axis. Now, I do not know whether such a race is in the offing, and I cannot try to project here an election that is about 3 years away. But I know that hustlers versus dynasties has all the potential of a consequentially divisive slogan. First, it will mark the continuation of acrimonious election campaigns founded not on principles or sound manifestos, but on an emerging culture of us versus them, our people against theirs, the very same patterns that guided the 2013 and 2017 elections. Hustlers versus dynasties will not be a competition of ideas, but about profiling candidates and voting for or against them on the basis of where they come from, which families they were born in, and whether they are the so-regarded big families, wealthy dynasties, haves, or the so-called hustlers or have-nots. Now, if this is the shape and form of the hustlers versus dynasties race, then I submit 2022 will be both toxic and divisive. Yet this premise can and should be challenged on the following grounds. First, in a democracy, talk of dynasties is utter nonsense. In democracies, individuals, regardless of their families and status, rise to public offices through free and fair elections. And as much as free and fair elections remain an aspiration in Kenya, that is the democratic principle. In America, that mother of democracies, some families have dominated politics not because they are predestined dynasties, but because they choose to serve the public through elected offices. That is why the Bush family produced two presidents, George Herbert Walker Bush and George W. Bush, father and son, a governor, Jeb Bush, and many siblings destined to make the family's presence in elective politics for the foreseeable future. That is the principle that made the Kennedys, a family that produced President John F. Kennedy and a legendary Senator Edward Kennedy, not forgetting a qualified Attorney General Robert Kennedy serving in his brother's government, the JFK presidency. In the US, politics as it should be here, it is the character, ideas, and genuine desire to serve public good that should matter, not the family background. This is why I hold tonight that dynasties in Kenya do not owe hustlers in Kenya an apology for who they are. The Kenyattas, Odingas, Mois, and their like should not apologize for their presence or place in the political landscape of Kenya. And so I also hold that President Uhuru Kenyatta was right today to confront the dynasty's tag and strongly reject this emerging petty profiling. But the dynasties, if I can call Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga for this argument, must allay the fears of the hustlers. That is the Ruto side that claims or feels the Building Bridges Initiative, BBI, is drafting a family power Bible for the so-called dynasties. The president and the NASA leader had best be aware that contents of the BBI constitutional reforms proposals will be scrutinized for the slightest hints of dynastic tendencies. My final part of the 3D, decency. Now, I know this is difficult to sell in our politics, yet the potential for decent engagement between politicians is possible. I saw this potential when I moderated the 2013 presidential debate that brought together 8 candidates. They addressed each other with respect. They did not call each other hustlers or dynasties, drunkards or witches, mtu wa vitendawili or yule mwizi. They just addressed each other as honorable ladies and gentlemen, honestly seeking to serve or lead. Now, it is former President of the US, Barack Obama, who said, and I quote, "You do not have to divide people in order to lead them." End of quote. And that is straight to the dynasties and to the hustlers. That is my kicker.